Hey guys, it's been a while. It's been 2 months, give or take, but I'm here doing the Run the Jewels discography review. I haven't been great recently, but I decided I was going to do this, and we're going to get it done. So let's do it. So, Run the Jewels is a hip-hop duo between LP and Killer Mike, both of whom before Run the Jewels had solo careers, but I will not be mentioning most of them. However, I will be mentioning 3 key albums, and the first 2 are in this segment. The 2 met after executive Jason DeMarco of Cartoon Network introduced them, and LP ended up producing Killer Mike's 2012 rap album, Rap Music, which was soon followed by Mike's appearance on Tougher, Colder, Killer from LP's 2012 album, Cancer for Cure. And they both came out within a couple of weeks of each other, so they decided to go on tour. And after the success of this tour, they decided they were going to become a duo, and they took their name from a lyric in LL Cool J's song, Cheesy Rap Blues, Run the Jewels. That's how Run the Jewels formed, a very brief Run the Jewels formation. But soon after, in 2013, they decided to release a debut self-titled record entitled Run the Jewels. With single 36-inch Chain, which also happens to be the best song on this record, spoiler alert, they released it, I don't know. I don't hate this record. I don't want to be misconstrued here, but I certainly don't like this record. I don't think it's very reminiscent of what Run the Jewels has become known for today, and why they're loved today. Take the first track, the title track, Run the Jewels. It's a little upbeat, it's a little fun, the beat's a little bouncy, but there's nothing amazing in it. There's no quotables in it, the beat isn't that good, the flows aren't that great, and the chemistry isn't that great. The only track I genuinely love, the only 2, are the single 36-inch Chain and the final track, A Christmas Fucking Miracle. Those are the only 2 good tracks in my opinion, or great tracks in my opinion. There are plenty of good tracks. The title track, Banana Clipper, Twin Hype Back, there are plenty of good tracks on this. But my main problem with this is, it's Run the Jewels. I know what they're capable of. I did this video. I understand what they can do, and this is not even close to their peak. I think my main issue with this is there's no chemistry between LP and Killer Mike. I mean, you can tell they've rapped with each other before, but it doesn't feel like a duo. It just feels like they're being featured on each other's songs over and over and over and over again, throwing in other features like Big Boy and Prince Paul and Until the Ribbon Breaks, occasionally throughout the record. It doesn't feel like Run the Jewels, rather than it feels like more of an LP record than a Killer Mike record, but a solo record with features, which is the main issue. Not to say it's a bad album, because I don't believe that, but I don't believe it's a good album either. And that's my 2 cents. Then, after Run the Jewels got some critical acclaim and people were raving over it or whatever, they decided to release a second one. It's called Run the Jewels 2. Ain't that original? Don't worry, it'll keep happening. But this is probably their best record, and I say probably very loosely, because I do think there's one other record that's in contention with it, but this is traditionally their best record. They released 3 singles, Blockbuster Night Part 1, which is one of the worst tracks, but it's still great. Oh My Darling Don't Cry, which is pretty basic, but it's still a fun track. I don't see anything wrong with it. And Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck with Zach De La Rocha of Rage Against the Machine. You know, Rage Against the Machine, the band I covered that nobody watched. I'm kidding, I don't care. But all 3 of these songs signify something with this record. The features are getting better, the politics are getting better, and the chemistry is getting better. LP and Killer Mike actually feel like they're on the same page with each of these songs, and I genuinely can't think of a song I would skip. Even songs like Love Again, which aren't really traditionally the favorites, I am infatuated with that song. There's something about it. All Due Respect with Travis Barker is probably one of the best rap rock mixes I've heard ever. Blockbuster Night Part 1, Jeopardy is amazing. All My Life, Lie, Cheat, Steal. I could really just go through the entire track list one by one and pinpoint every single track. Every single track is good, at the very least. Hell, most every track is great. All except for the closer, Angel Duster, which just personally isn't my favorite. I can't think of a better rap album from the year it was released in 2014. Matter of fact, I probably could. I can only think of a handful of records I genuinely believe are better than this. It's an outstanding record. This is something that people would hope to even touch in their career, and they did it on their second sophomore record. And they're about to touch it again on their very next record. It's an insane trajectory. If you want to know 3 tracks to listen to get you into this record, I would definitely just go Jeopardy, Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck, Lie, Cheat, Steal. They feature 3 very prominent things. Jeopardy is mainly flow-based. The beat builds and swells and climaxes, but it's a lot of flow. Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck is a beautifully political song, and it also just gets you hyped as fuck. Like, it's a fun banger, but also, like, it's really depressing politically. So if you're into the lyrics, it works on that standpoint. If you're into beats, it works on that standpoint. And Lie, Cheat, Steal is a great example of just, like, the repetitiveness that Run the Jewels can pull off that a lot of other bands can't. Groups can't. For example, the chorus is literally just lie, cheat, steal, kill. Everybody's doing it. It's a great chorus. But I don't know many other rappers or rap groups that could ever pull off a chorus like that. It's incredibly great, and I can't think of a better thing. After this was released, there was also a remix version of this record, a lighthearted remix album, as Wikipedia says, called Meow the Jewels, which is, it's this record, but with, like, cats. I don't recommend it on your first listen through of Run the Jewels, but, like, definitely listen to it on your second. It's a fun little thing. I definitely recommend Meow, Cheat, Steal. That's probably my favorite track. There's nothing great about it, but it's a very fun little thing. Yeah. Run the Jewels supported Jack White at Madison Square Garden on January 30th, 2015. This is a big event, in my opinion, because it really put them into the limelight in a way they weren't ever. And it opened the door for them to be with other rap rock crossovers. While Travis Barker and Zach De La Rocha were on this record, it'll happen a lot more often where you're going to hear more rock influences in Run the Jewels music than you would in, say, any other rapper at the time. And you're going to hear them well done. But in 2016, Adult Swim once again to release Talk to Me, the lead single to Run the Jewels 3. They released Love Again from Run the Jewels 2, but Talk to Me. So after Talk to Me, we got the single 2100 and Legend Has It, which is probably the best track on this record, but I'm going to save it. Then in 2017, they released Run the Jewels 3. This record is very iffy to me. Not because it's bad or even teetering on bad. Hell, it's not even teetering on good. It's a great record. But it improves on some things from the Run the Jewels 2 and kinda lets off on other things. For example, I think the features are better on this record. While I do love Zach De La Rocha on Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck, I think I prefer Danny Brown on Hey Kids, or I prefer Trina on Panther Like Panther, or I prefer Kamasi Washington on Thursday in the Danger Room. there are better features and they're utilized better than I do think they were on the Run the Jewels 2. However, with these new features being utilized better, I think the chemistry between LP and Killer Mike is slipping a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it's still there. Call Tickerton, Legend Has It, Talk to Me, 2100, Boots, not Boots, sorry. Everybody Stay Calm, Oh Mama, Report to the Shareholders. All of these tracks have great chemistry, but on the tracks with features, I think they mesh better with the features than they do with each other. For example, on Hey Kids, one of my favorite tracks on the record, I think individually, Killer Mike and LP mesh really well with Danny Brown. And it's a weird mesh, too. They do it again on a Danny Brown record, but we'll cross that road when we get there. But they don't mesh well with each other. Killer Mike and LP seem to be on totally different planes of existence, even though they're working really well. They just can't finish that triangle on this record. I think there are moments on this record where the beats are better and more well-developed. For example, Legend Has It. For example, Hey Kids. For example, Talk to Me. For example, Call Tickerton. But I think with the beats being better, I think they rely too heavily on them. For example, in Legend Has It, there's like a 30-second interlude where it's just a crowd chant, which is fine. It works when you're casually listening to the one song, but in an album context, it's annoying, and it doesn't work. It's just a weird little interlude to a song that didn't really need it. I think that's where my main issue lies with this record. I really want to like it a lot more than I like Run the Jewels 2. And there are points where I could be like, oh, well, that was so much better than my favorite track there, and that was so much more entertaining. But then there's points where it's just, I don't know what to do with it. Like, my favorite example is the final track, A Report to the Shareholders and Kill Your Masters. It's a 6-minute long song, which on paper, I have nothing wrong with that, but I often find myself looking at my phone wondering when this song is going to be over. I didn't do that with any track on Run the Jewels 2, or, for that matter, the debut. I never did that. This is the first record where I actively was looking at my phone to see how much longer I had to listen to it. And that's a problem. I didn't want to do that, quite frankly, but I had to, and I did. But it's okay, because this record is still great. As much as I like to beat down on it, I kind of have to in comparison to the 2 records next to it. We've talked about one of them, but before we get to another one, I want to talk about the feature they did with DJ Shadow, which is arguably their most popular song, Nobody Speak. This song has been featured in so many goddamn movies, my favorite of which is Booksmart, but it's also been featured in so many commercials. I think this is the point where Run the Jewels really became a mainstream act. While they're never really going to be mainstream just because of the essence of their of their rapping, I think this is the point where it was most conceivable and the closest they'll ever be to being that. And also, it's a great fucking song. Don't even. In March of 2020, we got a new single, Yankee and the Brave, which is an amazing song, and I highly recommend the listen. Then, you know, of course, we got the pandemic, but we also got another single, Ooh La La, showing that Run the Jewels wasn't going to wait for their album to be released. And they decided that they were going to release their album early. 2 days early because of the George Floyd riots. So you would think this album would be loud and abrasive and politically charged, and it is. And it does it really well. Everything I said that Run the Jewels 3 improved upon stays here, and everything I said it lacked, it goes right back up to where it was on Run the Jewels 2. This might be their best album. It's the perfect meshing of everything Run the Jewels 3 did right and everything Run the Jewels 2 did right, and it puts them together. For example, Ooh La La with Greg Nice and DJ Premier, the second single. This track shows perfect chemistry between LP and Killer Mike, and it utilizes the features and the beats really, really well. The little beat interlude actually makes sense because they have a DJ featured on the track. Another great example is Just, with Pharrell Williams and Zach De La Rocha, of Rage Against the Machine, you know. Not only do LP and Killer Mike both present their problems, political problems with finances in a different and unique way while still maintaining the chemistry that they had on Run the Jewels 2 and on other tracks on this record, but also Pharrell Williams' chorus might be the best thing ever, and Zach De La Rocha's little verse is amazing. They maintain chemistry with each other, with the beat, with the subject matter, and with the features all at once, perfectly balancing it. A few words for the Firing Squad. It's 6 minutes long. It's their longest track, I think. And also, I love every second of it. I am never looking at my phone to see how much longer I have to listen to it. It's an amazing and emotional track, as well as Pulling the Pin and Never Look Back. 3 tracks that I think perfectly utilize the emotional side of Run the Jewels 4. Meanwhile, tracks like Walking in the Snow, Just, Holy Cow in the Fuck, Out of Sight, not Out of Sight, Yankee and the Brave all utilize the perfect political side of Run the Jewels 4, and tracks like Out of Sight, The Ground Below, and Ooh La La utilize a nice, just flowy side, a side where you can kind of turn your brain off and listen to it. The Ground Below features some rock elements, nice electric guitars on the beats, and I think it's really cool. I like it a lot, actually. Truthfully, I can't think of a single track I dislike on this record. It's rather hard. I can barely think of moments I mildly dislike. For example, the transition between Just and Never Look Back. I don't love that, just because Just is this big abrasive track and Never Look Back is kind of lowbrow and low-key, and I don't think they match vibes all that well. And I don't love the way the track listing is laid out. But other than that, I can't think of any other flaw with this record. It's a near perfect album, and it's one of the best of the 2020s, and we're not even halfway through, and I'm willing to call it one of the best rap records of the 2020s, if not the best rap record of the 2020s. Will this comment come back to bite me? I don't know, probably, but here we are. So, let's get it, guys. This is an amazing record and probably Run the Jewels' best. So, let's continue. After Run the Jewels 4, they were on tour with Rage Against the Machine in 2020. Then it got postponed. Then in 2021, they were supposed to. Then it was announced it would be delayed again. Then both bands were supposed to play, and then they ended up not playing at a festival, and it was a whole thing. However, they've been doing some solo stuff, and the third solo album I wanted to mention was Killer Mike's new record, which I think perfectly shows how he's formed into Run the Jewels. Most of the tracks don't work. The notable exception, and my favorite track on the record, is the one with LP. I think Killer Mike is formed into just half of Run the Jewels and less like a solo act who happens to be in Run the Jewels. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's okay to be one thing. I wish he didn't release a solo record and just kept it to some singles, but he did, and he showed off his flaws and how LP helps his flaws. It's a good song from a great rapper, from 2 great rappers. Now, would I recommend the Run the Jewels to anybody? Of course I would. Where do you start? Personally, I think you start at Run the Jewels 2, go to Run the Jewels 3, RTJ 4, and then on a second listen, you'll start from the beginning, including... So, the way I think you should listen is go RTJ 2, RTJ 3, RTJ 4, RTJ, RTJ 2, Meow the Jewels, RTJ 3, RTJ 4. That's how I think it should be done. You don't have to do it this way, but that's how I think it's best. Thank you for watching. If you have any recommendations for this discography reviews, please drop them in the comments. I'll at least add them to the list. If you get 5 likes, it gets priority. If you get 10 likes, it will be automatic. Cool? Cool. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a good evening, day, morning, whatever you're doing, make it good. Peace.